right, welcome back, ladies and DeGents, to another fun-filled episode of the Distinguished DeGents podcast, your one in many homes of degenerate gambling. I'm one half of the Distinguished DeGents, live and well. I'm Steve Big Bucks Beta, coming off a Super Week 18, going into Super Wildcard Weekend. My co-host, my partner in gambling, welcome back, the one and only Jason Monty Mansman. Monty Mansman, glad to have you back. I believe this time you will be able to stay on the air. We won't have any issues. No punishments yet, but your flogging and whipping will come later.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Shit happens. I'm glad to be back. Somehow I survived week 18 betting wise without losing too much money, even though I was really, I was really busy. So I'm actually for once looking forward to the start of the playoffs. So we'll see.
I am very excited for the playoffs. We can do a brief recap of week 18 because we really didn't get to do an episode again because we were all so busy. So our opening remarks, week 18. My overall take, we missed a couple big dogs that I really think we should have considered more. The Carolina Panthers being a big one. That was a huge miss on my part. The New England Patriots in a dead spot against the Bills. Sharps were right. Shouldn't have faded that. Who would have known Joe Milton III would have his coming out game in week 18?
Yeah, I'm moving on to the playoffs. I'm not getting mad. I'm moving on to the play. That was a very, very bad performance, and we had our starting safeties out there. That's all I'm going to say. We had our starting safeties out there.
Oh boy. Yeah, and finally, the bigger miss, the Chicago Bears, they finally beat the Green Bay Packers. Finally got the field goal. Ding dong, the witch is dead, on to next season for them. And now Green Bay drops to the 7th seed and is now going into the playoffs in enemy territory. So, Mansman, what was your biggest shock of week 18 and what was your biggest hit, like in terms of betting?
Let's see. My best play, my sharpest play, Saints plus 14.5. You know it's the Demaryius Thomas handicap. There are some times, and you're going to hear it again, there's two teams with the Demaryius Thomas handicap.
And for those who don't know what the Demaryius Thomas handicap is, Money Management, please elaborate.
Yeah. So couple years ago, Demaryius Thomas had just died. Denver, very emotional game at home. Amen. Against the Detroit Lions. You knew that Denver was going to put forward their best effort. I think they were even catching points in that game.
It was close to a pick'em if memory serves me correct.
Yeah, it was like close to a pick'em. Denver and the Lions this was before like the Lions were the juggernaut that they are now.
It was Dan Campbell's first year, I think, where they were shit and they were terrible.
And it was just a good, like, high motivation spot. Demaryius Thomas, very emotional game. The crowd was into it. And you just expected Denver to outperform. And it was the same thing with New Orleans. Division game to end the year. The New Orleans tragedy. It just happened, I think, a couple days before. And you just expected, again, not for New Orleans to win. Tampa got the win. I expected that. But you expected that New Orleans was going to come out and give their best effort. And
to get them at 14.5, that is just like...
And that was a never sweat. That was a never sweat.
Yeah.
That game probably saved my betting week, to tell you the truth. The shock of the week, speaking of motivation, forget the Bills. The Kansas City Chiefs, I was flabbergasted. I mean,
oh my Lord,
negative 100 effort. I mean, they just like laid down, and maybe their backups are terrible. I don't know. They didn't even show up.
No, they didn't. Maybe it's this. I mean, I hate to say it, but like maybe it's the same issue you feel like Buffalo has, where. I mean, if you really think about it, like Kansas City, like admittedly, yes, they pulled all their starters. Yes, they rested people. They didn't pull every starter. They pulled their starting offense. Yeah. The fact that Carson Wentz got nothing just shows you the level of aptitude and the greatness. Like, I hate to say it, the greatness of how good Patrick Mahomes really is.
Yeah.
Like, we give him shit. He looks bad, but
like, here's what I'll say: the Bills played their backups. At least they gave it like a college try. At least the game was like, I'm not gonna say interesting, but at least it was close. Like, at least there were times where the Bills defense did something resembling an NFL team. Like Kansas City, I mean, that game was what, like 28-0 at half. I literally look, it's
21.
Like, it was like 21-0 before you could blink, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, that's done.
And the double doink catch, like literally, that was the game. Everything just went right for Denver.
Yeah.
And Denver, truthfully, like it was just like they were 100% clicking. Everything just went correct. Everybody made their catches. They ran the right routes. No, honest to God, like it really just was perfect Denver game. And yeah, again, all I hear is, well, Kansas City's backups were on the field. It's like, okay. So are their backups that bad? That Denver was able to have a perfect game with a rookie quarterback? Because if so, I have concerns with them going into the playoffs. The minute, because you've seen it before, one guy gets hurt and it ruins everything. Could be a starting safety. It could be your quarterback. It could be your star receiver. It's like if one guy goes down and that backup is not good, especially on defense, your spread is pretty much fucked.
I will say I'm not going to look too far into it. We've seen Kansas City turn it on and off before. I just think it was shockingly no effort type game to end the year. And which was surprising because you would think with the backups in there would be a little. I mean, they just like they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, they just got torched every play.
I'll kick it to you. Do you believe the theory that they laid down so Cincinnati wouldn't make the playoff?
I don't think they laid down for Cincy. I do think they laid down in a spot that was meaningless. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, again, like I'm going back to the whole they benched their starters angle. It's like, well, I think they were going to do that anyways, and I don't think it was the fact that they did it for Cincy. I think they just did it because they played 17 straight weeks of hard NFL football. They had 3 games in a 10-day span over Christmas break. So I just think that, like, this was a laydown spot regardless of who they played. I think it was just that Denver happened to be the team that they played. And it happened to be a situation where Cincinnati needed Denver to lose to make the playoffs. And quite frankly, no offense, by the way, for the fucking Bengals fans out there petitioning the NFL, we don't want Denver. You know, maybe you should have beat the LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Maybe you should have beat the guy. Oh, yeah. Funny thing. You want to know how time is a flat circle? Listen to this shit. Week 1, you could have beaten Jacoby Brissett in the New England Patriots. You could have beaten them, but you didn't. Now, because of that one game, not only do you miss the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure like that game screwed the Patriots as well because they won Week 18 against the Bills. Now they don't have the – literally, if they had just lost that game and the Bengals won, Bengals would have made the playoffs. The Patriots would have had the number 1 pick.
Yeah. Tennessee now has the number 1 pick. And I could not agree with you more. The Cincinnati, they should have been in the – first off, Miami, embarrassing performance. Tyreek Hill quit midway through the game. That was the congratulations on the Caser.
Thank you.
Miami quitting, and Sam Darnold seeing ghosts basically ended my chances for the Caser. But so Miami's a failure. They quit. Tyreek Hill quit midway through the game. But
what a loser.
Back to the main point. You're 100% correct. I don't want to hear the Cincinnati excuses. The Buffalo Bills beat the top 2 teams in the league this year. Josh Allen isn't going to win the MVP because everyone's slobbing Lamar's knob again.
Oh, my God, again.
No reason. Literally, Josh Allen does the same shit. He beats up on – I don't mind. Josh Allen plays his best against the best teams, and they're like, oh, his stats suck. And then Lamar Jackson throws like 7 touchdowns against fucking – scrub-ass team, and they're like, oh, there's your MVP. So, anyway.
It's one of those weird things this year, I feel.
I will say Cincinnati pity You lost against the Patriots. You started the year fucking 1-6 or whatever you were. You don't get pity. There's no excuses.
No.
You fucked up. You suck. You didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. And you're not. Good. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you, honestly. I don't care.
No.
To
be honest, I feel like they should have lost to Denver in that overtime game. And Denver, literally, it was a situation. We outcoached ourselves.
And let's be honest, for these people who think, oh, yeah, Cincinnati would do a lot better than Denver, I'll tell you, Buffalo would have smacked the shit out of Cincinnati because Cincinnati basically had to win, 5 straight games to make the playoffs, and the Bills essentially had a bye week last week. So let's cut that shit out. I kind of wish Cincinnati was in just so the Bills could have put up 40 against Lou Amarillo, who doesn't have a job now. Oh, yeah, since he should have been in the playoffs. Their D coordinator is unemployed now. Thank you.
But let's petition the NFL to just randomly change the team. Yeah, because viewers and Raiders, get the fuck out of here,
baby. Another thing, last point. The people, NFL should change their seeding rules. This is unfair. No, it's called win your division. If the Vikings don't like that they're a 5 seed, maybe Sam Darnold didn't have to see ghosts on Sunday and cost me a case of beer. Maybe Sam Darnold could have played better. I don't want to hear the Vikings should be the 2 seed or what. No, maybe you should have beat the Lions. Winning your division has a purpose. You don't like it? Be better. That's it. I don't.
Which sucks because it's I will say it is funny a 14-2 team, or are they 13-3? But either way, they're going to be a wild card team. No offense, if your opponent is just that one game better, I don't know, Minnesota. Maybe don't lose to Detroit twice. Maybe
here's the simple thing. Okay, you think you're 14-3? You think you're the best team? Go into Arizona. You don't even have to go into Los Angeles because
it's on fire
to the ground. Go to Arizona, beat the Rams. Show us something. You can't win a road playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams. You didn't deserve to be a 2 seed.
Okay? And I
don't want to hear because you can already see the excuse. This is unfair. If we were in Minnesota, we would have won. No, maybe if you were a legitimate 2 seed, you would have beaten the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. So no excuses. Same thing with Buffalo. I don't want to hear the excuses from the Bills. Fair warning. I don't want to hear McDermott shit. Josh Allen wasn't healthy. Our defense wasn't healthy. Sean McDermott should have taken a trip to Pakistan before. Time is over. We're in the playoffs. No excuses. It's time for accountability. 2025, year of accountability. Let's go.
And you know what? For Denver's sakes, too, again, what did I tell you after I think we lost to the Chargers? I was like, we're never winning another game. Because I don't know if Sean Payton has it in it to coach to the end. This is the loser mentality you don't want to have. And then what happened? We blew a game against Cincy. But you know what Denver did when the moment counted, when everything was on the line? They showed up against the Kansas City Chiefs, who, as we said, they may have laid down. But Denver showed up, and that was the important thing. Winning teams, winning cultures, they don't make excuses. They don't say, oh, well, if the refs didn't blow us in that Chargers game, we would have already clinched the playoffs. You know what Denver did? On to Cincinnati. And when we blew that game in overtime, you know what they said? Well, I guess next week's a must win. They moved on. That's what a winning culture is.
100% right, too. That's a great point. Because it's not like Denver won a 16-0 slop fest. Kansas City laid down, and Denver brought the shovels. That's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. On that point. All right, we're 15 minutes in. We only have 6 games to go over. Oh, last point with the Caser. I'll let you make the announcement. You kind of already said it, but my final numbers for the year, ATS, I kind of wanted to boast about it. I went 141, 123, and 5. About 53% this year ATS, which is a massive improvement from my 47% last year.
I got to start counting. Here's what happens. I count early in the year, and then I get busy, and I forget to count. So I'm just guy on the right now.
Guy on the right. And then on the Caser bet, the Jets screwed you.
I got to say, I had a really bad NFL betting year till the very end when I profited. Like, I think the last 3 weeks I've profited like 30 units. Probably even more. Probably like 40 units now.
Last note. By the way, Bengals fans, you can cry at home in Cabo, but thank you, Joe Burrow, for getting most offensive passing yards for a quarterback. Thank you for cashing 11-1 ticket in my futures. So my futures portfolio profited this year. Thank you, Joe Burrow. And I profited this year, so we're going to take it into the playoffs. We'll see how it goes.
My futures did not do very well. Just give a couple of my good ones. Rams to make the playoffs.
Yep, had that too.
A 3-team parlay. Colts, Browns, Giants, 3-1, all to miss the playoffs. That was a good one. And then the last one,
why didn't you include the Jets? That would have been hilarious.
I know, I should have. I would have gotten good odds too. The last one, Bears not to make the playoffs. We were on that one from the very beginning, and that one cashed by Thanksgiving. So,
yeah, big miss for me in the futures portfolio. I had Colts to make the playoffs, so we differed on that. That didn't come through. I hit 4 division winners though. Unfortunately, not in a parlay, but I did hit it outright. Ravens, Eagles, Bucks, and the Lions all came through in the same night.
Crazy enough, I lost the Josh Allen and DJ Moore over by a combined 100 yards.
Oh, that's brutal.
But I did get Kirko under because he got benched at the end of the year. So
I know, and I had Kirko over in a spot where if he had just kept playing, that he would have got it.
He would have shot way past it, yeah.
But no, fucking didn't get it. But there's always next year. We'll see how it goes. But we're on to the playoffs. Playoffs. Talking about playoffs. All right, Money Management. We have 6 games. We had 2 Saturdays, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday in the Super Wildcard weekend. Okay, so regular season handicapping, we did 18 weeks. We're now into playoffs. What changes? What's the mentality going into this?
This is actually my favorite week of the playoffs because I feel like this week determines who the real contenders are. I always say when you get to the divisional round, if you've won a playoff game already, you are legitimate. This isn't the NBA. This isn't, this is closer to hockey than it is like the NBA. If you win a playoff game, you're a real team. And I think there are a couple teams here, and you're going to see a consistent handicap with me. I think there's pretenders this week that are going to get exposed. Not necessarily that they're not good teams, but just I think there's a class of teams that have a legitimate shot to make a run, potentially win a Super Bowl. And then I think there are some teams that, let's be honest, have stumbled into the playoffs and are just happy to be here.
Yep. I'm right there with you. And in terms of handicapping and betting strategies, you have to kind of eliminate some of the trends. What do I mean by that? Well, we're in the playoffs, which means you can't really rely on the non-conference trends. And even when you do get to the Super Bowl, well, it's a neutral site. You're not really getting the non-conference road spot. It's a 2-week rest period, so you're essentially starting all over. So starting with that. The divisional angles, well, guess what happens? Playoffs are a whole different atmosphere, and this is a one-game winner-take-all. You can't really take into effect if a team has beaten them twice in a row or have lost twice in a row. You really just have to play the spot because how they played each other in week 3, week 4, week 5 versus even going later, week 16, 17, 18, especially with this Christmas slate and like all the games being all over the place, you really kind of have to essentially start over and not just rely, there's one game in particular we're going to get to where I'm going to say, well, this team's laying this big number. Why is that the case? And, there's going to be sharps that give you all these numbers about these games. Well, that's regular season stats. If you look at playoffs, things change.
I know the game you're talking about, and I think we're going to be similar.
We're going to see. And then, finally, there's seeding trends that you have to consider. So you can't really just take the dog. You have to say, okay, well, how have 7 seeds, how has 6 seeds done in the past? How have the home teams done if they're the 4, looking into stuff like that, it tends to make or break the handicap, where I think if you can't treat this like a just normal regular season game, you have to take into effect this is going to be essentially sold out stadiums full of fans in a winner take all, on top of everything that's happened through the past 18 plus weeks. Yeah. And there's no more bye weeks until you make the Super Bowl. So, look ahead spots. That's another trend you kind of really have to avoid. There really is no looking ahead at this point. This is the moment they've been looking ahead to. Mm-hmm. So, they're really the only ones I would say you could look at. You possibly could look at divisional trends next week and the day of the week. You could look at that. You could look at the spot, but that's why I like Wild Card Weekend, because it is so all over the place. But once we get to the divisional and conference champions and so on, that's just going to be game by game. Look at the teams, and that's going to be mostly.
And those are tough too, because like I said, once you get there, you don't get the same sometimes mismatches that you get in the first round. Like, you're going to get pretty much the top teams in the league now. The spreads are going to be tight. Like, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, this is like pretenders and contenders week. That's the best way to put it.
You see a couple 8.9 point favorites this week. You're not going to see that next week.
No, I don't think so. Not unless you're like barring some catastrophe situation with like an injury. And line movements, it's really going to be sharp money moving these games. It's not going to be, it's not going to be like this week or even in week 18 where a line will open and then all of a sudden it jumps 4 points.
Yeah. Really, that's tough, because the only time where the Barneys really moved the line a lot is the Super Bowl, because that's where every Barney on the planet is throwing their hat in the ring.
Yeah, and that's why I waited personally to make a lot of my bets till today, because this is really the last week of true line movement-ish. After this, whatever line opens at, we pretty much could assume that's more than likely or not. It's only going to land within a point or two difference at most. And we'll talk about that going into this week where that's happened as well. But let's kick this bitch off. As always, make sure you win and make that motherfucking money. Make sure you shop around at all sports books. I usually go through 3 or 4 books to get the best number, but we usually announce our odds through FanDuel. So that's where the odds I'm going to present come from. I got nothing else, so whenever you're ready, Mansman.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, kicking it off today at 4:30 on, I believe, CBS, AFC South battle. It's the Houston Texans hosting the LA Chargers as a 3-point home underdog, plus 134. Over-unders 41.5. The Chargers minus 158 on the money line. And the Chargers are a big public road favorite. 84% of the money, 78% of the bets. Chargers 12-4-1 ATS in the regular season. Texans only 6-10. 11-6 versus 10-7 record, and both teams are dead under teams. 8-9 for the Chargers, 6-11 for the Texans. Texans did not end the season very well. Chargers, I think, ended the season winning 3 straight. They are now on their 3rd straight road game. Mansman, I'm going to defer to you here to kick it off. What is your pick for this game to kick off Super Wildcard Weekend?
Yeah, I think this is probably the public side. I'm going with the Chargers here. Putting the Demaryius Thomas handicap aside, which I think for both LA teams is going to play a factor. The big stat I've heard that's really going to, I think, determine the game is the difference in the Chargers' pressure rate compared to Houston's offensive line. And I'll give the number, which I think is going to be the X factor in this game. Texans offense tied for 29th, 3.2 sacks allowed. Chargers defense, 2.7 sacks per game. That's 6th in the league. I think when you look at this game, we know that Harbaugh is a good coach. I think he's going to have the coaching advantage in this spot. I'm not worried about the Chargers going on the road in a dome. And, before, what was the handicap in this game? Well, are the Chargers going to get ahead and blow it late? Not with Harbaugh. I think C.J. Stroud's going to be under duress a lot. We've seen in the big games when he's under duress, he hasn't performed well. They haven't been playing well. They lost the game to Tennessee. They got absolutely blitzed by Baltimore. Complete no-show in a revenge spot. I just think the Chargers are the better team in this game. I think Houston has, again, contenders, pretenders. Houston has stumbled in the playoffs. They lost to the Jets. They've had some bad losses. I don't know how they beat Buffalo earlier in the year. This is not the same Texans team that beat Buffalo. I don't like the Texans in this spot. If you could get the Chargers, especially we were talking about all fair, if you could get them under a field goal, I think that's the route to take here.
I'm with you on this one. I'm on Joe Public here. I'm also going with the Chargers. Here's a stat. Again, I brought this up, I think, last week, and it kind of rang true, so I'm going to stick with it. Saturday favorites this season, they're 5-2 ATS, but they're 7-0. They're undefeated so far. And I think a lot of sharps, like I've heard a lot of sharps being all over Houston here against the Chargers team who is in their third straight road game. They're going up against an AFC South team, and where Herbert actually, he struggles against that division. He's only 2-3 straight up in ATS in road games against the AFC South. That includes that playoff loss to Jacksonville in 2022. The problem I have with that handicap is that was all under Brandon Staley, and now he's an assistant head coach with the Niners, supposedly, and look how bad that team did this year. The Chargers, meanwhile, they outperformed all expectations. Harbaugh has flipped this team around. And again, I think you just look at a power rankings dynamic. The Chargers, I would say, you could make the argument they were the closest competitor to the Chiefs to win the division this year. But rightfully so. They're a good wild card. I'd give them I'd at least give them a 10-9 in power rankings just from how good they've been playing this year. In truth, though, you look at this Texans team, they kind of made the playoffs by default. They really made it because the Jags, the Colts, and the Titans are just that bad. And in truth, I think this is a really horrible spot for C.J. Stroud and this Texans team. They're coming off short rest. They just played Sunday in Tennessee. Now they're coming home with only 6 days' notice. They're 0-4 ATS on short rest. Herbert, 7-1 ATS as a road favorite. And this Texans defense, just looking at the last few weeks, like you meant, I think you kind of alluded to, they have been horrendous. They've given up a lot of points to, they gave up, 30-something to Lamar, 27 to Mahomes. And basically it looked effortless from both those quarterbacks. And the one thing you didn't mention, the Chargers rush defense, they're the number one rush defense in the NFL right now. They also give up the least amount of touchdowns among all defenses in the NFL this year. So what does that tell me? Well, I really like Joe Mixon under here. Joe Mixon really didn't play a lot last week, so I don't know how fresh he's going to be going into this game. But that game against Baltimore's rush defense is okay. They held him to I think 26 yards. Which means they're going to make C.J. Stroud throw, and they're going to be pressuring him when he throws. And as you mentioned, the pressure rate, not so great. Nico Collins is really his only weapon. Maybe Dalton Schultz, but out of all the 6 games, there's only 2 I feel have blowout potential. This is one of them. I just feel this is the Harbaugh get-up spot. I'm the real deal. This wasn't a fluke. And, for DeMeco Ryan, C.J. Stroud, they've been really fizzling. They have not been looking good to end the season. Chargers kind of heating up right at the right moment. So
Chargers, too, on the road, covered 5 straight road games.
Yeah. And honestly, a really better play I got, and I wanted to say I got it on DK, but I could be wrong. If you're that worried for whatever reason about the Bucks, fizzling too, this is not a spot, you could have got the Chargers dead even money in the first half on the spread.
Oh.
At 0.5 point. And that's what I played. I played Chargers -0.5 in the first half because I could just see this Chargers team getting up in the first half, sort of like what they did in Jacksonville.
9 straight first half wins as road favorites against AFC opponents.
Yeah, so this is just a get up spot. I think the Texans are going to start off slow and sluggish. They're going to try and figure it out. Maybe second half adjustments where they kind of make it close. And again, with this 3 being such a key number, wouldn't shock me if Houston tries to come back and keep it close and it ends on that 3 and it pushes. I I heard one sharp. I won't even dignify his name because I hated how he said it, but he kind of made the point that like you're not supposed to tease the number through 0, but when you get to playoffs, it's a little bit of a different atmosphere. If you really think the Texans are going to win, do you think this is a blowout? Because I really don't. This, to me, would be like that Jacksonville game all over again. Chargers dominate first half, blow it in the second half. Yeah. You could tease the Chargers through the 0, get 2.5, 3 that way. And if the Chargers lose...
what I'll say for this game, you watch the first drives. If Houston gives up a sack in the first drive, goes 3 and out, and the Chargers score a touchdown, you live bet the Chargers. Because if the Chargers offense could move the ball in this game, I don't think Houston has a prayer. Like, I think this is the type of game for Houston. They need the Chargers offense to struggle. I think it needs to be an under-type game, and maybe Houston could win like 21-16 or something. Because I think if Herbert gets hot, like I think if the Chargers put up like a 17-20 spot in the first half, and it's like 17-0, 20-3, I think this game's over. Because I don't think you could have in the second half CJ Stroud just dropping back and passing. I think he's going to get the piss beat out of him.
Honestly, though, but I kind of expect that because I could just see Joe Mixon getting stuffed the whole game, going nowhere.
I do like the Joe Mixon. I'm actually going to tell that. I'm going to tell that. I like that.
All right. Yeah, I love Joe Mixon under. That's my player prop for this game.
I see 71 on DK.
That's too many. What's
and I see 7-7 on the year.
Oh, God, 71.5 on FanDuel, minus 110.
So 71.5. He was 7-7 on the year for that. So honestly, considering they're pricing it as average, you would expect the game script would be that eventually Stroud's going to have to chuck the ball. Okay, I endorse that. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, can you look up how he's done on at home? What are his splits at home at that number?
Okay. Why don't you move on to the next game or your overall?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to move on.
I'll look at the game. I'm going to look at the game.
All right, next up, it's a battle for the AFC North. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens for a third time this season. Ravens are now laying 9.5 points at home, divisional home game. Pittsburgh Steelers are a currently plus 420 money line road underdog, divisional road dog at that. Over under is 43.5 points. And Ravens are minus 560 on the money line. Currently cannot pull up the betting slips. Not sure.
Okay, real quick interlude. Since Thanksgiving,
okay,
so that's November 24th, he will have broken 71 yards once.
Wow.
13 for 57 against the Chiefs, 12 for 23 against Miami, 9 for 26 against Baltimore. The only time he did it, 20 for 101 against Jacksonville, 20 for 109 against Dallas.
Shit defenses, basically.
So literally the games they've been winning, he's run, and other than that, I endorse the Joe Mixon under.
I wonder how would you feel about a sack prop too? So right now, Joe Mixon under, LA Chargers minus 3, plus 151. If you parlay those two.
Yeah, because they're correlated, yeah.
If you throw in Joey Bosa to get a sack with there, plus 267. So yeah, not really the best, but
correlated. I wonder if you got rid of the Chargers minus 3, what would you get for just the sack and the under?
Yeah, let me take a look as I build this bitch. Oh, yeah, by the way, I think FanDuel and DraftKings, they're both giving away no sweat same game parlays. So for all you degenerates out there that love to build the fucking big parlays, this is your week. Plus 177 with the sack and under.
Okay.
Not the best, but all right, and I finally got that up. Okay, yeah. So anyways, Ravens, Steelers. Oh boy, Ravens are a big home favorite against a division opponent in the playoffs. Okay. I do hear there's a lot of potential sharp money that could come in very late on this Baltimore Ravens team.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
This line has not moved yet, though. So keep that in mind. This is stayed put, open to 10, stayed put at 9.5, which means Vegas, I think Vegas knows something, or even with the money, they know if they move this up 10, 10.5, the Sharps are just going to bet the other way. So I think
Pittsburgh, yeah.
So this is like a lot of Sharps. What's the angle? Well, why would you bet the Ravens minus 9.5? Well, I mean, their logic is probably, well, I'm going to fade Mike Tomlin in this spot. Yeah. And the logic really is that
sputtering.
Yep. They're sputtering. They're no good.
Last week.
Yeah. They're no shows in wild card weekend. They've lost and failed to cover 3 straight wild card games, even with Big Ben, bumfuck Kenny Pickett. And they lost to Baker Mayfield and the Browns. And and not that just lose, they lose bad. They're usually no shows. It's a blowout. The Bills, I think, last year blowed out this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And the way the Ravens are playing, well, the Ravens are basically dominating every aspect of the field. Their defense is lighting it up once again. They're shutting teams down. Lamar's looking very good. They're talking about Lamar's going to be the 3rd MVP in a row. I'm going to do my best not to pussyfoot around this. It's a 2.5 unit play, but I'm buying a point. I am taking the Steelers plus 10.5, minus 130 on FanDuel. Not my proudest moment, but I got it at minus 125 on the Fanatic Sportsbook, so if anybody uses that, feel free. And I did that because I'm buying the juice, but for the sake of this number, it's Steelers plus 9.5. I'm really, instead of fading Tomlin in this spot, I'm fading playoff Lamar. Regular season Lamar, primetime Lamar, Saturday Lamar. Love to bet on him in the regular season. Love to bet on him when he's a small favorite. Don't like betting on Lamar as a big favorite. I think he's only 40% as a double-digit favorite or a favorite of 8 or more. So not really the most profitable to begin with. Lamar has only had 2 home games in his playoff career where he basically beat down a Houston Texans team, and then they outcoached and overcoached themselves. I don't know what you would say, but that Kansas City game in the conference championship where he was forced to throw, they didn't run the ball whatsoever, and they lost. And now it's Lamar, huge home favorite in the playoffs against a divisional team for the 3rd time. I just can't get there with betting Lamar as this big favorite. I don't see this being the normal Pittsburgh Steelers blowout to end the season 1 and done. I think the writing is potentially on the wall for Tomlin, where if that does happen again, he could be let go, or he could consider being moved on, maybe through a trade. What happened the last game, too? What happened the last game, Steelers were playing from behind the whole time. They pretty much kept it within 7 all the way up until the 4th quarter. And then Russ threw that bad pick 6 and could just never recover from it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was a very close game that whole time up until that 4th quarter. And just even looking at last week, you want to say the Steelers have been really bad. Mm-hmm. I agree. They haven't won anything. I agree. They covered a 2.5 against Cincy down points and basically backdoor covered that game.
Yeah, in a game that maybe you could argue Cincy had a lot more motivation than Pittsburgh.
Which, I mean, maybe that goes
to show. Actually, you can't. Can you even? Oh, yeah, because did the Ravens play after?
No, they played before.
Oh, so Pittsburgh had no motivation, really.
They did for the seeding purposes, but nothing else.
How'd that work out with Green Bay and Washington? They both had their back.
Yeah, they both put in backups. I get what you're saying. But, yeah, like in a game where they already had been locked, and that was 2.5, they managed to cover that. As bad as Russ looked, as bad as George Pickens was, who, by the way, it's another cold, freezing game. If he drops 5 more passes, he should be cut. Like, Pickens is a bum. I have no interest in his props. I'm staying away from that. I love Pat Freiermuth at 4 catches right now at -110. So that's my player prop for that game. He's turning into a new player. Here's the other key in this game. So not only is George Pickens going to be playing in this game, which he wasn't in the last one, Zay Flowers is out. Lamar's number 1 wide receiver.
It's a big loss.
Which you may think, like, okay, it's a Ravens receiver. They have like 10 million of those. Like they all do the same thing. Maybe, but they don't get 35% of the read options from Lamar. And I think without that, and Lamar has to move it, I think the Steelers and Mike Tomlin know how to coach around Lamar, and they've beaten him before without Zay Flowers. They've beaten him with Zay Flowers outright. It would not shock me if the Steelers somehow pulled this off and won. I don't see it happening. I do think the Ravens ultimately win this, and really what I do think happens is a game like the last time. Steelers play from behind. They're playing catch-up. They tie a couple times, and I think the Ravens win by 3 or 7.
Here's my prop for the game. Lamar Jackson to throw an interception plus 125. No, the big thing with Lamar Jackson in the playoffs is that he has thrown some very inopportune, critical interceptions at the wrong time. And this feels like the type of game. I'm on the same side as you. Not that I feel great about it, but I need a fade of the week, so I'm going to fade Baltimore. So this will be my fade of the week.
You know what? I'm right there with you. This is my fade of the week as well. We'll do a double fade.
I'm just thinking, like, I like your handicap that maybe the Ravens-Steelers game, even though it ended with the Ravens winning by as much as they did, maybe it was a little bit phony due to that bad interception that Russ threw. And I don't know, man. It's just Mike Tomlin in the playoffs, like 2 division teams playing for the 3rd time. Boy, I really don't. It's more, I don't want to take a lot of points with Baltimore in this spot. I get it. Everything smacks Baltimore. Baltimore has been getting hot. They've been playing better. The Steelers look like a team that's fading. But boy, these teams playing for the 3rd time, they know each other so well. It's the same coaching staff, the same everything. Boy, I'm trying to think of, like, does Pittsburgh just lay down and die in this game? Do they just go and, like, just wilt?
I think if you're scared for Pittsburgh,
it could be close.
Maybe Pittsburgh first half is the key. If you're that concerned, because maybe if they're only down 7 to even 14, and that could be the thing. If Ravens get the ball in the second half and they go up 3 scores, I think they're going to lay down and die, and your bet's dead. I think if it's within like 10, Pittsburgh comes out motivated. And I think they'll be motivated anyways. The last 2 times these teams played each other in the playoffs, I think it only ended within 3. I think in the 20 games, the last 20 games these teams played against each other, 16 of them ended in 7 or less. So, I mean, yeah, really, I'm playing the number here. And I bought the extra point on a backdoor cover situation because what I could see happening is if it's like a 20-10 game and the Steelers score and make it like, well, I mean, I don't even know if the numbers add up.
Ravens are minus 360 to win the first half. So you're really feeling ballsy.
Oof. What's the tie? I may sprinkle on a tie just because I could see it.
Let me see.
But getting to my point, like what I could see the Ravens being up
85 Pittsburgh.
I could see the Ravens being up 17 if it goes their way. And Russell Wilson will lead a late drive. Score 6, it'll be 11. And knowing Tomlin, he'll kick the 1. And fuck Steelers bettors. Because he'll say, oh, well, I'm within a touchdown. He'll kick the 1 instead of going for 2 like most head coaches actually trying to win a game. That's my issue. Like, Tomlin, he's more of a safety net than I kind of want him to be this late in the season. I think that's his detriment. And that's why I'm buying the point, because I could see this ending in 10. And that 9.5 number, just for some reason, like, it does terrify me. But I like Steelers plus 9.5. I bet it at 10.5. I bought the point, but look, at minus 125 to get a point, I don't mind. Like, I don't think that's the worst alt spread bet I've ever made.
I'm trying to find the double chance.
For the first half?
No, like the actual double chance, like first half and end of game.
Oh, go to...
Where is it?
Scroll to... I think it's like under, like... If you go on FanDuel, it's under popular. You have to scroll, like, to the very bottom.
Looking...
Or is it under halves?
First half winner.
Parlays, scoring.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe you have to build the parlay now.
Maybe you do. It's annoying.
First half winner. Yeah, Steelers plus 6.5 first half. That's not the end of the world.
All right, here we go. I'm going to do my Fugazi double chance here.
Okay.
Oh, it won't let me combine them?
What? That's ass.
Why not? I can't combine the first half. Oh, I have to do first half winner 3-way maybe.
Oh.
Hold on 1 second. Stand by.
You're good.
Where is the second half 3-way? There's no second half 3-way.
Oh.
I don't understand why.
Maybe we have to check a different book.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah, I don't know which one. Which one were you looking at?
I was going to try and do, the double chance. I was going to do Steelers to win the first half, Ravens to win the second.
DraftKings, you can build it. So give me 2 seconds and I'll tell you exactly. 4.5 to 1.
Jeez. That's it? It seems like it should be higher, honestly.
Steelers to win first half, Ravens to win second half. 4.5 to 1.
Oh, I know. No, I know what I got to do. I have to do Steelers to win the first half, Ravens to win the game.
Oh, maybe that's it.
That's what I need to do. And they're not letting me parlay that either? What is going on?
Need to find a new sports book, sounds like.
All
right. We're on the same page, though, with Baltimore. I like Pat Freiermuth, 4 catches. Do you have a player prop otherwise? Or
Lamar Jackson interception. Okay. Steelers to win the first half, Baltimore to win the game, 6 to 1. So if you're feeling ballsy.
Okay. All right. We had a comment, but we lost it. But it's the next game. Fonz has the Broncos as a sleeper pick. You and Adam, what was it? Adam Gase? I think not Adam Gase. The guy from NFL Network.
Oh,
did this last time. Maybe. All right, moving on. Mansman, Sunday, 1 p.m. All hell breaks loose for DeGent Nation here at this show, as my Denver Broncos are on the road to Buffalo once again to take on your Bills and MVP Josh Allen. Broncos are catching 8.5 points. They are plus 350 on the money line. Bills minus 460. Over-unders 47.5. And what are the stats saying? Buffalo, 55% of the bets and 68% of the money. I've heard a lot of sharps split on this game, but it seems like a lot of them do favor the Bills. In fact, I've heard from multiple sharps throughout their shows that they are basically expecting this to be the blowout game of the year in terms of wild card weekend. There's always like one Bo Nix, rookie quarterback. Josh Allen, MVP.
MVP runner-up.
Yeah, they're saying this is a total mismatch. I'm going to go ahead and defer to you to start this off. Mansman, we can pussyfoot around this, or you can just give your Bills take and I'll give my Broncos take and we can call it. I'll leave it up to you, but you do.
Okay. Yeah, let's not pussyfoot around it. Sorry to the commenter, Fonz. Best bet, Buffalo Bills -8.5. And trust me, you know me, I don't do this lightly. This is not a homer take. Number one, the Bills, like, if they do well in a particular round of the playoffs, it is wild card weekend. But just in general, I think it feels like a really bad spot for Denver. Let's be honest, Denver has kind of sputtered in to the playoffs. They basically beat a team that laid down and died last week. They lost to Cincinnati. I'll be a good game, but they lost to Cincinnati. They lost to the Chargers. They basically had to clinch the last week of the year. Bo Nix, first game in Buffalo. It's going to be one of those West Coast to East Coast weird time zone games. And, it's not even really a Bills take. I think, I don't know, Denver's defense hasn't been as good lately. I think the Bills could score. And it's just a question. I mean, I think the only chance you guys really have is to try and be aggressive. Because I think if you play like you've been on offense, your little $2 check down offense, I think that's really what the Bills want you to do. Mm-hmm. Take your 2-yard check downs. And I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know. To me, this just – I'm not trying to insult Denver or anything. And trust me, I've seen enough Bills football to know that this could be a nip-and-tuck game, and we could very well lose this game. I just have a feeling that this is like – I feel like Denver, if they get down 14, it's going to be like, you know what? This is a good learning experience. We're happy to be here. We're going to take this going into next year. And this could end up being a Mitch Trubisky game in the fourth quarter. Well, I could just see this getting ugly. I think if there is a blowout, I think this is the blowout game.
Okay.
But you have a better read on your team. You tell me otherwise. I just feel like Denver is kind of coming in sputtering.
So I did want to kind of keep this short and not go insane. So 3 quick questions I asked myself in this game, and really with this line. How many games have the Denver Broncos lost by this number? 1. They got mauled by the Ravens back in like October.
Yeah.
And pretty much after that, there are 7 losses they had. 6 of them ended in 7 or less. Which, again, I know that's a regular season stat, but I keep it in mind. That carry from week 1 to now. So I think that's an okay stat. Number 2, the Bills all season, they played a total of 5 teams this year that also made the playoffs. How many of those teams did the Bills cover this number by? 1. That was when they beat Kansas City. They beat them by 9. The Bills, however, in those 5 games, they only went 2-3 straight up. And ironically enough, they beat the number 1 seed in the AFC and the NFC. They beat the Lions and the Chiefs. They lost to the Texans. They lost to the Ravens. And they lost to the Rams.
One thing to be careful of, and it's good points. One thing to be careful, they played 5 of playoff teams. The only team they played at home was the Chiefs. They played the Lions, Ravens, Texans, all on the road.
And the Rams.
Bills went perfect this year at home.
Okay. That is true. Number 3, what is the Bills' ATS percentage in playoff games under Josh Allen? It is 30%. He is 3-7 ATS.
They're not great. Yeah.
And this is the same argument as Lamar. Why am I laying a big number? When you consider like the last time these 2 teams played too, last year, big difference. But theoretically speaking, what has changed? Russell Wilson should have lost. Will Lutz should have lost. But the Broncos have theoretically and actually gotten better under rookie quarterback Bo Nix. Will Lutz has not sucked as hard this year. The Broncos defense has been massively improving this year. They have played a lot better than they did last year. Remember last year we gave up 70 to Miami?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that Bills-Broncos game. Like, that was weird. How did the Bills lose that game?
Because we missed a field goal, but Damar Hamlin was the 12th man on the field.
I blacked out. Of course. That was the game we went to. I blacked it out. I'm like, we lost to Denver last year? What the fuck?
Monday Night Football.
Oh my God. I was like, it was fucking, the brain cells are dead. Oh my God.
Yeah, and look, I mean, like, again, I hear the narratives like, oh, the Broncos, great story. They came back, a rookie quarterback, playoff debut. The Bills failed to cover the spread against Skylar Thompson in a very similar situation.
That's my one fear, is our defense in the playoffs has been horrible.
Your defense gave up a loss to Joe Milton III.
Well, that was the backup.
But let's hammer 8.5, Mansman. Let's run to the books. Let's run in, put retirement mortgage bets on the Bills.
Well, I didn't go that far.
Look, this goes one of two ways, obviously. Either you're 100% right, the Bills will blow out the Broncos. It'll be a learning lesson because Denver plays too conservative. I will break things. I will cuss out Sean Payton for 20 minutes on YouTube here. I will be very livid if we play conservative. I have a feeling we will be more aggressive. My concern is even when we play aggressive, Denver on the offense, they love to run the ball, which they can't really do against the Bills. The Bills' rush defense is like maybe the one concern. And Denver, when they pass, is really good on man-to-man. I'm not sure how Bo Nix is going to do against the Bills' zone.
Yeah.
Which, again, you have to play aggressive against. Sean Payton, I will say, there may be a couple tricks up his sleeve in this game. He's not going to go all out, but the question is, what is Denver's how conservative are they going to try to play this? Because you're 100% right. They play too conservative. Josh will just run all over them.
I'm curious to see what Denver's defense does, because here's the thing. Denver, this was a great stat. Denver, I think, fourth most in the league at sending blitzes. The Lions and Chiefs are 3 and 5 respectively. Josh Allen rushing props are very live for this game. Josh Allen and the Bills offense have torched teams that have blitzed them. They've been very good against blitzing teams. So I'm curious to see if Denver tries to not bring as much pressure, which is normally not what they do.
Denver also plays a lot of man-to-man defense, and I just think, again, like this could be the Josh Allen just torches our – I mean, Joe Burrow torched our defense on out routes, not even deep balls, just on out routes. I love how they bounce back against Carson Wentz. I mean, let's be honest. Carson Wentz was once a MVP candidate in the NFL.
How far he has fallen.
How far he's fallen, but I kind of just remember back to like we literally shut them out. Like effortlessly.
This to me feels like another game you live bet, just because I feel like if the Bills get up early, it could be a blowout.
It could be ugly.
Whereas I think if it's close, I think the game's going to end close. Even though the Bills are a second half team. I don't know. Is Denver a second half team?
Yes, they are very much a second half team.
Okay, so the Bills, Broncos, both second half. I mean, I don't know. I just think if the Bills get up early, the one thing fear in this game is they get up early, maybe get a couple turnovers off the rookie, and then the game kind of snowballs. Bills defense third in the league forcing turnovers.
Let me see something real quick because I have a totals play on this. I actually like the under 47.5 here, although everybody loves the overs. Both teams are over teams. I have a play, though, that I think a lot of people would like, and I'm trying to see if I can get
Bills at home 6-2 to the over. Although the Broncos have been an under team in the postseason, interestingly enough.
Yeah. Let's see here. First half total points under, and then oh, come on. Where are you? First half total under 23.5. Second half total over. Because I could just see this being which team is going to fucking get, like, both defenses I feel like will show up great, and maybe Bo Nix will struggle. It'll be a matter of that second half, who eventually breaks through and who gets the lucky bounce.
Say, if the Bills win this week and the Ravens play a close game with the Steelers, I really love the Bills next week against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore's going to be tired, beat up. If the Bills like could coast this week, you know what I mean, like fourth quarter, take it easy, they'll have a big advantage against Baltimore next week. A little payback time. All those Baltimore fans talking shit in Baltimore. That's going to be different in Buffalo. But we got to beat this. Look, I'm not discounting Denver. Denver's a good team. And Bo Nix has played. That was another thing, too. Bo Nix has played in a lot of big college games. So even though he's a rookie, it's not necessarily the same as the rookie who was, one and done, whose biggest game was, the Peach Bowl where half the people didn't play. Like,
right. No, I hear you. And I think this is going to be – I just think this is going to be a lot closer of a game than people give the Broncos credit for. Because, again, I just think for the Bills, so much has to go right for them to get a blowout. And I just think Denver has too many pieces to let that happen. And, again, we played this team last year. I mean, except for the difference of what, Amari Cooper? I mean, I'm trying to think. Literally,
you have to remember though that was there was a big difference. His name was Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey fired twice in 2 years.
Oh, that's right. You guys, we're gonna get thanked again by Bills fans when we show up for getting Ken Dorsey.
They're literally
fired.
Gonna be like, I've never seen so many Bills fans happy after a loss. That was crazy. All
right, here we go. So you like Josh Allen props this week? What's the one you want to hammer?
Oh, boy. I heard a good one. Josh Allen, longest rushing attempt, but probably what's the rushing yards for him now?
44.5.
Getting higher. God, that does seem low, though. Feel like he has a big run. He could get that.
Yeah. I like his over 237.
There's a 42.5 on DK.
Ooh. I like his over 237.5 passing. Again, I think he has a more Burrow type game. And if Allen's going to win or keep it close, I think they're going to have to air it out. I don't think it's going to be on the feet. I do wonder who Pat Surtain is going to lock up in this game and keep from scoring. Could be Keon Coleman, could be Khalil Shakir. I'm not quite sure, but
it's weird. I don't think it's going to matter because the Bills don't have a number one receiver, which hasn't hurt them yet, but playoffs is different. You may need a guy who's going to – I just think if I expect anything, maybe you'd play Josh Allen over under passing yards or over under passing plus rushing. That's at 281. I could see him getting 300 total yards.
Okay.
Kind of hedge your bets a little bit because I think he could run for 70, pass for 240, or he could throw for 325.
Gotcha. No, I like that a lot.
Like I said, I'm not as worried about Bill's offense because I've seen Josh perform in the playoffs despite what the media says. If you look at his playoff numbers, he's been fantastic. The issue is our defense. Our defense has gotten scorched in the playoffs way too many times.
Yeah,
McDermott, I'll tell you, Bozo McDermott loses this game.
Oh, he's gone. He has to be gone if he loses this.
Be. Make Joe Brady the head coach.
Joe Brady, don't leave. We'll give you the head coach.
Yeah, seriously. Sean McDermott could fucking go.
All right, next up, it's the Green Bay Packers, Sunday, 4:30, catching 4.5, 2-1 underdogs. They're traveling to Philly, Lincoln Financial, minus 245. Over-under is 45.5 points. And the Eagles are getting 70% of the tickets, 78% of the bets. Another weird game. This one I had the hardest time making.
Who would have thought that when we were drunk at the bachelor party, which seems like 17 trillion years ago, It's come full circle. They started the year, and now one team season is going to end after this game. What do you think? I struggled with this one.
This is Philly or nothing for me. I know the injury news with Jalen Hurts has been concerning. He's had, I think, 2 weeks off now, maybe 3. He's been fully practicing. I think and I guess there's concerns that he may fall flat due to concussion. Like, he may just not start out great. I don't think the Packers have really been looking good. Like I was a big Packers guy. I was all over them. They don't cover much, mainly as favorites. When they're dogs, it kind of goes one way or the other. I'd say like maybe 50%. I don't know. Like, I know Jalen Hurts last year struggled, but I think you just look at the way the season went. They were really fizzling and just spiraling at the wrong time. I don't really get that vibe this time with this Philly team around. I gotta get it. I kind of get it more with Green Bay, who I think has not. I have to pull the numbers up, but Eagles is a home favorite since 2023. Not that great. 7-1. So. I think this is more of a coin toss game than we think. I know, like, week 1 was Brazil. Yeah. Neutral site. Nobody cares. It's for fun. I think Jordan Love having to now go into Philly with, I think, an injured elbow on top of that.
Yeah. Both quarterbacks banged up.
And, you know, if it's Josh Jacobs or Saquon, I'm going to take Saquon. Well, if you stop Saquon and, you know, the Packers defense, oh, yeah, that's right, Jair Alexander, he's out for the year, so he won't be there to defend, which means I think A.J. Brown could go yard on 3rd down. If you don't go to him, it's Devonta Smith, and it's like the Packers, it's like, what, Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed, if they even throw to him. I'm not – I think the Packers, like, it was a great story last year. This year, they just – I just think the Packers look more like a one-and-done team this year than they do like as a dark horse.
Saquon rushing is low, only 104.5 rushing yards on DK.
I love how that's low. Like, if you really think about it.
Well, he's 11-5 to the over at that number. Like,
that's insane.
Crazy.
I could look up the defensive stats on that, but Green Bay 7-3 ATS as road underdogs since 2023. I don't know. I just think 4.5 is like a trap line in the sense that I think a lot of Packers bettors love the 4.5. They think they're getting such a key number.
Yeah.
But I think this ends more like at 9, 10, 11. Like, I'd have, again, like, this is the one where, like, I think I have to really go back and look all over again before I make a final play. My gut instinct says Philly, and that's where I'm going to go with. I do think they're just the better team. Their O-line is certainly a very impressive, where I think Jalen Hurts, like, I think he'll be fine. This could be a big Saquon game at 100, only 104. So that tells me they may be expecting Jalen Hurts to throw a lot, maybe. I don't know. Like, I had a harder time than I wanted to.
The Packers' defense has been okay against the rush. I actually like my even better Saquon Barkley over 122.5 rushing receiving yards, because let's say they're even stopping him with the run a little. Would it surprise me they get a few screen passes, get Saquon involved in the passing game?
It wouldn't shock me if I would like his catches prop. I don't know. They do run some screens with him, but I don't think he really – I think he has an issue with breaking it off the screen. So that's my problem.
He's not a big receiving threat, but I don't know. I mean, just a thought. Because I think he could rush for 120 yards in general, and I think if he breaks off a big receiving catch, you may get lucky with that. Here's what I'll say. What's my spread play for this game? No chance. I have no idea. I'm not even playing it. Nope. Not giving out any bet. I don't know what to make of this game because so many injuries. Jordan Love's banged up. Jalen Hurts is banged up. These defenses have been playing well. Where does that lead me to then? A lot of running the ball, good defense. Let's go with an under of the week. Let's go under 45.5. Do we have 45 and a half? Yeah. Under 45 and a half for this game. A lot of running. You're going to see a lot of Saquon, a lot of Josh Jacobs. I think I like Saquon over because maybe I do lean to the Eagles winning the game. And I would go Jordan Love under, tell you the truth, because the Eagles defense, number one against the pass, they're really good. I think if Green Bay is going to win this game, it's going to be Josh Jacobs. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Jordan Love gets hurt. We see Malik Willis in this game.
Yeah, that is a huge concern. And I think even if you look at the backups and handicap the backups, I like the Eagles backups a lot more than I do Malik Willis. And truth be told,
Tanner McGee has been winning. So.
Yeah, and I'm pulling up the first game, week 1, which really was so long ago, and that was neutral site, and the Eagles won 34-29, so that was a 5-point win. So again, I think you go and look and you say, well, what's changed? Jordan Love's throwing elbow is hurt. That's not a good thing. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts, he's had weeks to recover. That's a positive. Both running backs, I give the edge to Saquon. You look at their receivers, I give it to Philly. O-line, Philly. Defense, Philly. So, yeah, like we always say on the show, when in doubt, take the points. So, I'm taking the Eagles.
Normally, that means you play the underdog.
That's true. Yeah, normally that is the case. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. My problem is I could see this game being like a 4-point game. So, I like the unders better.
So you're on under 45.5. I'm going over only because I think this number is lower than last time.
I don't like that.
And they went way over.
We go heads up, over, under. I never do well.
I just think 45.5 is a little too low. I think 27-20, this game breaks. That's my thinking. All right, Sunday night, Washington, Commies, a.k.a. the Commanders, a.k.a. the Redskins. 3-point road underdogs, plus 136. Excuse me. They're traveling to Tampa Bay, minus 162. Over under is 50.5. Bucks are a sharp side, apparently. So the Commies are a public dog. 55% of the bets, 51% of the money. Okay, so maybe it's more dead even than we think. So this is another rematch from week 1 where in the beginning of the season, they played each other.
Tampa
this week,
-4 in that game.
And what happened in that game, Mansman?
Well, they won by 17. Different teams, though. Well, I would say both teams. I'd actually upgrade both teams, to tell you the truth.
I would too. What's your play here?
Yeah, that's a tough one too. I think I have to go with Tampa. There's that stat about quarterbacks making their first playoff game not doing very well.
I have that stat.
And I just think Tampa at home. I don't know if Washington's defense is going to be able to do much against this Tampa offense. And basically, not only first playoff game, but if you look at Tampa, the way to beat them is through the air. So you're basically going to be relying on Jaden Daniels to win this game. This is tougher for me because I feel like Washington, like team-wise, I feel like they've come into the playoffs decently. They're not like sputtering like Denver, where I feel like it. Like I feel like if Washington gets down 14, it's not necessarily, you know what, we're just happy to be here and we'll get them another day. So I don't know. I think I give the advantage to Tampa here. Baker Mayfield's been there. They've done it. They're in the playoffs again. I think they've won the division, what, three times in a row now? Todd Bowles used to be good against rookie quarterbacks. He used to be. I remember that handicap against Denver not going well, but Todd Bowles used to be good against rookies. We'll see. I don't know. Feels like an interesting spot. I could see this game being close, but at a field goal, I think Tampa gets it done.
No, I'm right there with you, and I needed to have a best bet. This is going to be my best bet. I'm taking. I just think the Bucs only getting 3 is so much disrespect to Baker Mayfield and this Bucs team who, like you said, they've won the division at least 3 straight years now, even with shit records. That rookie playoff stat, so I have it right here. 22 rookie quarterbacks have started in the playoffs since 2000. It is 9-13 straight up and ATS. However, since 2012, 6 quarterbacks, 3-3 straight up in ATS, including a Brock Purdy and a CJ Stroud, who both won and covered their wild card debut. So keep that in mind as well. So lately, the rookies have actually been okay. Since 2002, quarterbacks making their first NFL playoff start facing a quarterback with playoff experience. So that also applies to Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and later Sam Darnold. 1937 and 1 ATS, so only 34% have they covered. Besides, I mean, yeah, it's like when I look like with the Bills game, I gave the number. I'm like, the number's too high. This game, they beat them by like 17 the last time they played. Todd Bowles against the rookie quarterbacks. I think, like you said, besides the Bo Nix game, it's still statistically in his favor. And I just think this is like the veteran type of game versus the new team. I mean, Jaden Daniels not only being a rookie quarterback, he had Dan Quinn once again in the playoffs as a head coach. And besides that 1 year with Atlanta, I'm not sure how his record really is. I don't really think it's that great. I'm going to try to look that up real quick. But I just think that like last week, the Bucs did not necessarily lay down and die. I think it was just a get up spot for New Orleans. They still came back and won that game, which I think is very telling. The one quirk about Baker Mayfield is that usually in the close games, when it's a shootout, he tends to lose. Mm-hmm. Last week, he kind of got over that hump, albeit against a shit Saints team. I think this is the kind of game they really bounce back from. I don't think they're going to really force Mike Evans as much, per se, but he's still going to be the number one target. Jalen McMillan, I think, is also another deep threat that they've kind of started developing. So I think Tampa is really just still as dangerous a dark horse than they were at the beginning of the season. So Washington, it was fun, but they're sort of sputtering too. They're not really dominating like they were at the beginning of the season. They really haven't, really since that Bears game, there's been something off about this Commanders team. They just have not been clicking as well as they were at the beginning. And I think the Commanders are the 6th seed here in this spot, or they're the 5 seed. So, yeah, they have won. It looks like they've won 3 of their last 4 on the road, but they've failed to cover 3 straight, failed to cover 4 of their last 5 with Jaden Daniels. 0-2, 0-3, 1-3 as a road dog. So yeah, I think if I'm getting a field goal or less with Baker Mayfield at home, gotta hammer it. So best bet, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
we'll see how well that goes.
I endorse. I think in a game like this, you know how normally when in doubt, take the points. I think sometimes in these games, especially this week, when in doubt, you take the teams with playoff experience because that tends to be very valuable in these circumstances.
Yeah, and I think the key thing too is that, like, especially with the way this year has gone, favorites have just been the hit. Like, favorites have just been cashing money left and right. This is the week where it is pretenders contenders, and it's like, well, we can't really use everything from this season, but this is like a when in doubt, take the veteran team over. And
I feel like people have slept on Tampa because the division hasn't been that great. But remember last year they lost to Detroit by 7.
Yeah, they lost on the final drive.
Detroit and played a hell of a game. So
they beat Detroit this year too.
They're legit. Oh yeah, no, Tampa's a legit. I'll tell you, everyone says Green Bay's the dark horse, and quite honestly, I think there's a better chance of them falling off because that's a tough game going to Philly. I actually think the dark horse might be Tampa because they have a lot of playoff experience and they got a quarterback who could get hot. And we've seen them play tough against Detroit. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they went in Detroit and won.
Not at all. And honestly, too, I mean, Tampa, with them being the 4 seed, depending on how this week goes, they could get another home game next week, depending on how things play out.
It could. The NFC, to me, is very interesting, wide open. The AFC, I think less so. I think I have a feeling that Buffalo, Baltimore, and the Chargers will be your teams in the AFC. But I think the NFC is wide open.
Yeah, I got over 50.5 here, too. It's going to be close, but they're both dead over teams. I think the Bucs are 12-6 or 12-5. The Commanders are 11-6 on the over. Just looking at the Bucs at home, their last few, 1-3 straight at home, 2 games over this year. If you look at their last 7, it's 5-2 to the over. So they do tend to score a lot. They also do tend to give a lot of points up. Jaden Daniels, I guess, really what the question comes down with that is how well does he perform in this format in the playoffs? But I think garbage points could play a factor, really, in my opinion here. So I got nothing left on the Commies game. Do you have anything else before we go to the final game?
No, let's go to the final one.
Monday Night Football, last one of the year. The Vikings-Rams are now being played in Arizona, Glendale, due to the LA forest fires. So now this is a 2.5-point favorite for the Vikings, -148. Rams are a dog, +126, +2.5. The over-under is 47.5 points. And the Vikings, 57% of the money, 64% of the bets. So Vikings are a big road favorite here. I think it's my go to close this off.
Yeah, here go.
I'm very hesitant to do this, but I feel like you have a better read on these types of situations. Normally, when I fade these spots, I tend to lose very badly. So I'm trusting you, and I am trusting you are correct. I have to have a dog of the week. Let's make it the Rams.
Double dog.
Look, the LA forest fires, I think them losing the stadium for this game sucks. This has to be the ultimate get-up spot for the Rams. And especially, too, you're going from dome to dome. You're going to Arizona. That's the one spot where the Rams have had, a lot of success. They go there twice a year. Now 3 times. So they're very familiar with the stadium. They're very familiar with the atmosphere. They know what they're going to get into. They know how to walk around, generally speaking. The Vikings, on the other hand, really, there's just no other way to say it. McVay owns the Vikings. 3 straight they've won. 3 straight they've covered. Vikings in the playoffs. This is like the inverse Lamar Jackson. Vikings during the regular season, when they're good, I have no problem betting on them. The Vikings in the playoffs, I mean, they had the miracle in Minnesota that one time, and then what happened after? I don't think they've won a playoff game since.
Yeah, that's
maybe
right.
They did.
They had the miracle, and then they lost to the Eagles with the dog masks on. was that year where they wore the dog mask? I don't know.
Yeah, that was the year. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the Vikings playoff history, but I just think that, I just watched that Lions-Vikings game, and it was dreadful. But, again, what ended up happening? Fourth quarter, Lions broke through, and there was nothing the Vikings could do to stop it. The Rams, my concern is their pass defense. I think they're only, 21st, 22nd on man-to-man coverage.
Defense is
and I could just see this being a get-up spot for Big Dick Sammy. But, again, it's another weird thing where I'm it's a great story, but at the same time, do I really want to take the Vikings in this spot now that they're getting 2.5? When it was a pick'em in LA, I picked the Vikings, and I was originally going to pick that side and be look, the Rams aren't as good as we make them out to be. Again, like they really probably shouldn't have made it. They only made it because the Niners ended up getting so injured, and the Seahawks are the Seahawks. Like, again, power rankings, so we have 16 playoff teams. I put the Rams probably like 12. The Vikings, I put like 5.
Yeah. I heard a sharp say that the Rams are the worst team in the playoffs. I guess maybe using EPA, they were pretty low on defense and like middle of the pack in offense.
You know what? Like, maybe the Packers or maybe the Commanders are the next one.
I don't know. That's weird. Like, I hate to. Boy, that's tough. Who's the worst team in the playoffs?
Hard to make a case otherwise, truth be told. Packers for me, I would say. The Steelers, maybe. But, I'd say the Steelers right now.
I think between the Broncos and the Steelers, just because both have been bad end of the year. And that's tough, though, because I don't think the Broncos were a bad team.
No, I don't think they were bad. They just lost.
I think the Broncos, it's just you haven't been in the playoffs for so long.
What about the Texans? I mean,
yeah, you can make a case that. No, you know what? Honestly, I think the Texans are the worst team in the playoffs.
Okay,
because the Texans have sputtered, and CJ Stroud is terrible. Yeah, I'm gonna. Steelers and Broncos have sputtered at the end, but I think the Texans might be the worst team in the playoffs. Yeah,
and I think out of those teams you're saying who sputtered, I don't think Denver really sputtered. I think they just like choked. If you really think about it. They choked. They didn't
lose to anybody bad. God, Houston lost to Tennessee.
We just lost to a team that lost to New England, but it's fine.
I mean,
anyways, so Vikings playoff history. So you're right. They beat New Orleans in the Miracle in Minnesota. They lost to Philly. 2019, they beat New Orleans in overtime, lost to the Niners. 2022, they lost to the Giants. 2024, they're now playing in Arizona. Not the greatest field. This has to be the spot for the LA. Win one for LA. Next week, you potentially go home, or no, they won't go home because the Rams are. No, they might. They could have a potential home game.
The 3 seed, right?
Yeah.
Potentially, if the Eagles lose, they would host. Green Bay? Yeah, Green Bay.
No, they're the 4. Rams are the 4.
Oh, Rams are the 4?
I think the Rams are the 4.
Oh, yeah, Rams are the 4.
So, yeah, but again, there's still a potential. They could have a home game.
Yeah.
If any of the wild card teams win, there is a chance. So.
Okay, my handicap time, double dog. I might have to get double dog now, just for.
I have some here.
You had double dog last week. I might have to grab the double dog for this week.
Oh God,
my work stuff is over, thankfully. So
there you go.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Remember after the Denver game, we did the recap after Denver lost to Kansas City the first time, and I said, when these teams play again, Denver is going to be my best bet of the year, and then I proceeded to bet on the other team. Well, I'm not doing it this time around. I literally said the loser of Lions-Vikings is going to be demoralized because now they're going to have to go on the road for a playoff game. They're going to be pissed off. It's going to be like the ultimate drop spot. And now you're also getting the Rams coming off the tragedy. That's going to be super motivated, emotional game. This is like the perfect spot for the Rams. I just think the Vikings, again, to lose to they could have been at home resting, and now they're going to Arizona to play an amped up Rams team. Can't you see, in your mind, the press conferences, the NFL seeding's bullshit. We were 14-3. We shouldn't have had to play on the road, but it is what it is.
I think
nobody gave us this much credit. No one thought we were going to be able to do. I could just see the Vikings end of year press conference already.
I think Kevin O'Connell's a bit better of a head coach than to pull that. I think it's more of a, you know what it is for me. Now that I really think about it, they dumped the Gatorade week 17 with Sam Darnold. on that comeback win. I think it was a comeback win, week 17. They dumped the Gatorade.
Yeah, for the Packers game, yeah.
Yeah, they dumped the Gatorade before the must-win game, and then they got obliterated by the Lions.
The Gatorade made him see those ghosts again.
Maybe. I really should have thought ahead with that, and I'm glad I bet the Lions week 18. But now I'm with you now. Like now I'm even more convinced.
By the way, my prop of the game, Matt Stafford over under 241.5 passing yards. I'm slamming the over. The Vikings pass defense is the weakness of that team. For the Rams to win, Stafford's gonna have to throw the ball. Either that,
he will.
You could go Nakua over too. If Nakua 89.5 receiving yards.
What's Cooper Kupp's? Because this could be the Cooper Kupp bounce back.
Cooper Kupp 48.5.
God, that's low. That's 3 catches for him. That can't be.
I think Matty Stafford's gonna have a day. I think he's gonna need to because the Vikings are good against the run. They give up a ton to the pass. So if you like the Rams, I think you gotta like the Rams either receivers or you gotta like Matty Stafford.
Yeah, I think I might go Cooper Kupp to get 50 in this game.
Oh, here's a curious one. One more, just a fun one, because I heard it on a Sharp podcast. What do you think of the Mike Evans under this week? Because Marshawn Lattimore is playing. And all I've heard is like
what's his number?
Sneaky sharp Mike Evans under.
See, the problem I have is I don't know. Is Marshawn Lattimore even going to finish the game? I mean, he's been injured supposedly, and if he plays a full game against Mike Evans and covers him the whole time, honestly, that makes sense. But that was when he was with New Orleans. I don't know what he's doing.
74.5. Ooh, that's high. He's 9-5 under for the year. Interesting. Jalen McMillan, 53.5. I heard a sharp like Jalen McMillan because of that.
That one I would play. I'd play. Maybe avoid Mike Evans, play McMillan 50 because that's for him. That's one catch. He could do that in one play. It's like the Marvin Mims stat. You know, it's basically you bet all his unders or you bet him to get a touchdown in 80 yards. Like it's one or the other.
You should probably bet Marvin Mims because I feel like there's going to be a lot of Marvin Mims. That's the type of guy
I already did.
Again.
Oh, I already did. Don't worry about it.
I might have to bet Marvin Mims this week. He'll struggle against those little shifty.
Yeah, Devon Vele, if you really want to get cute.
No, he is a big, slow guy. The Bills are good against big, slow guys.
Fair enough. All right, that's it. 6 wild card games. Games start in 4.5 hours. We'll run through the picks one more time. We do have a couple differences. So, Mansman, we are both on LA beating the Texans -3. Yep. We're both on Pittsburgh +9.5. We're split on Denver, Buffalo, naturally.
Very good.
We're both deciding to go with Philly for right now, but TBD. My best bet is the Commanders -3, and our double dog of the week
is Buccaneers? You mean Bucks?
Sorry, Buccaneers. Yeah. And then double dog of the week, Rams +126. So double fade and double dog.
I think really on the spreads were for the most part good. It was some of the props that we maybe have some contentions.
Yeah. Yeah, man, but I'll see you Sunday. We're going to be live for this Bills-Broncos mayhem. One person will be sad. One person will be intoxicated and passed out. And one person will be excited. All right. Give us your best bets. We'll close it out.
Yeah, right. So my best is just a recap. Fade of the week, Pittsburgh Steelers +9.5 against the Ravens. My best bet, the Buffalo Bills -8.5 at home. Dog of the week, our double dog, LA Rams.
Let's go. Yeah, best bet for me, Tampa Bay Bucks, Dogs, Rams, and my fade of the week, the Steelers as well. So, all right, thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you check us out on our Twitter page, x.com/DGents podcast, where we really got to update some shit, put some posts up there. Thank you for, if you like us, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Good luck today. As we always say, make sure you win and make that motherfucking money.
Winners get to bathe.
Winners get washed.
Winners
Have a good night.
Have a good night.